The empty space between stars was not truly empty. It held secrets, dangers, and sometimes things that should have been left alone. Fleet Commander Vexthera stood on the command deck of the flagship Stellar Fang, watching the scanner displays with growing interest. The 47 ships of the Zephyrian Hegemony's exploration fleet moved through the darkness in perfect formation. Each vessel gleamed with the polished metal that marked their advanced civilization. They had conquered 47 worlds in the past century, and each victory had been swift and decisive. "Commander," called out Navigation Officer Kethron from his station, "we have detected an unknown vessel at the edge of the Kepler 442 system." Vexithara's 4 eyes focused on the main display. A shape appeared on the screen, rough, angular, and covered in strange bumps and scars. It looked nothing like the smooth, elegant ships of the Hegemony or any of the other species they had encountered. This thing looked like it had been built in a scrapyard by primitive beings who knew nothing about proper ship design. "Analysis," Vexithera ordered. The tactical officer, a young Zephyrian named Veltar, worked quickly at his console. The vessel appears to be approximately 800 meters in length. Hull composition unknown, but scans indicate heavy metal construction. The design is unusual, Commander. It has many external structures that serve no apparent purpose. Vexthera clicked her mandibles in amusement. Another primitive species trying to play with technology beyond their understanding. "How many life forms aboard?" "Approximately 300, Commander. Their technology appears crude. No energy shields detected. Weapon systems appear minimal." The commander felt a familiar surge of satisfaction. This would be easy, just like all the others. The Hegemony's expansion across this sector of the galaxy had met little resistance. Most species surrendered immediately when they saw the might of a Zephyrian fleet. Those few who chose to fight were quickly overwhelmed by superior technology and tactics. "Open a communication channel," Vexthara commanded. "Let us see if these creatures can be reasoned with." On the unknown vessel, alarms began to sound throughout the corridors. Captain Sarah Chen rushed from her quarters to the bridge of the UES Defiance, still pulling on her uniform jacket. The Defiance was a Nemesis-class destroyer, one of the newer ships in the United Earth Space Force fleet. She had been conducting a routine deep space patrol when the sensors detected the approaching alien vessels. "Report," Captain Chen ordered as she took her command chair. Lieutenant Commander Martinez, her executive officer, turned from his station. 47 unknown vessels detected, Captain. They're in formation and approaching our position. No response to our standard first contact protocols. Captain Chen studied the tactical display. 47 ships against 1. Not good odds by any measure. But the Defiance was not just any ship. She represented the best of human military engineering, built with one simple philosophy. If you were going out into the dark between stars, you had better be ready for anything. "Continue broadcasting first contact protocols," Chen ordered. "All languages and mathematical sequences. And bring us to yellow alert, just in case." Throughout the ship, the crew moved with practiced efficiency. The Defiance had been built by a species that had spent centuries fighting wars against itself. Every system had backups. Every weapon had been tested in the harshest conditions Earth could create. The ship looked rough and scarred because it was designed to take punishment and keep fighting. Chief Engineer Rodriguez watched his displays carefully as the ship's systems came online. The fusion reactors hummed with barely contained power. The magnetic rails of the kinetic weapons charged with electricity. The point defense systems activated, their sensors sweeping space for incoming threats. Everything was ready. On the Zephyrian flagship, the communication system crackled to life. A voice spoke in an unknown language followed by mathematical sequences and what appeared to be peaceful greetings in multiple tongues. "Primitive contact protocols," Veltar reported. "They appear to be attempting peaceful communication." Vexithara laughed, a sound like breaking glass. "How refreshing. Most species either attack immediately or cower in fear. These creatures seem to believe they can negotiate." She activated the ship's translation matrix, a sophisticated system that could decode most known languages within minutes. Soon the alien words became clear. "Unknown vessels, this is Captain Sarah Chen of the United Earth Space Force vessel Defiance. We come in peace and request dialogue under standard first contact protocols established by the Galactic Accord of—" "Enough." Vexthara cut off the transmission. "Open a channel." The screen flickered and Captain Chen found herself looking at something from a nightmare. The alien was tall and thin, with 4 glowing eyes and mandibles that clicked as it spoke. Behind it, she could see other creatures moving about what was clearly a military command center. Primitive beings. Vexithara's voice came through the translation system, cold and commanding. I am Fleet Commander Vexithara of the Zephyrian Hegemony. You are in territory now claimed by our empire. You will surrender your vessel immediately and submit to integration into our domain. Captain Chen felt her stomach tighten. She had hoped this would be a peaceful first contact, the kind that would be remembered in history books as a great moment for humanity. Instead, she was facing what appeared to be a hostile alien empire that had just demanded her surrender. Commander Vexithara, Chen replied, keeping her voice steady. We are explorers and representatives of the human species. We have no quarrel with your people and request safe passage through this system. We are willing to discuss any territorial claims through diplomatic channels. Vexithara's mandibles clicked in what might have been laughter. Diplomatic channels? You misunderstand your situation, human. You have 1 primitive vessel. We have 47 warships. This is not a negotiation. This is a demand for surrender. On the bridge of the Defiance, the tension was thick enough to cut with a knife. Captain Chen looked at her officers. Martinez was checking weapon systems. Lieutenant Park at the communications station was still trying to reach the alien fleet with peaceful messages. Ensign Thompson at the tactical station was tracking all 47 enemy vessels. Captain, Martinez whispered, they're powering up weapons. Chen nodded. She had hoped it would not come to this, but she had prepared for it. Every human ship that went into deep space was ready for war, because humans knew something that many other species seemed to have forgotten. The universe was not a safe place, and if you wanted to survive, you had better be ready to fight for it. Commander Vexithara, Chen said, her voice now carrying the steel that had made her one of the youngest captains in the Earth fleet. We do not wish to fight, but we will defend ourselves if attacked. I strongly suggest we find a peaceful solution to this situation. Vexithara's 4 eyes narrowed. In all her years of conquest, no primitive species had ever dared to speak to her with such defiance. They usually begged or pleaded or tried to bargain with resources they did not even possess. This human seemed to actually believe she could resist the might of a Zephyrian fleet. You threaten us? Vexithara asked, genuinely surprised. With what? Your single crewed vessel against our entire fleet? Captain Chen smiled, but there was no warmth in it. Commander, you have 47 ships, but I have something you don't understand yet. And what is that? I have a human warship. The communication channel closed, leaving both sides to prepare for what was coming next. On the Zephyrian ships, crews moved to battle stations with the confidence of a species that had never lost a space battle. Their plasma cannons charged with deadly energy. Their shields shimmered to life around their hulls. On the Defiance, Captain Chen stood and straightened her uniform. All hands, this is the captain. We are about to engage a hostile alien fleet. Remember your training. Remember what we're fighting for. And remember that we are not just representing ourselves today. We are representing all of humanity. She turned to her tactical officer. Ensign Thompson, are we ready? All weapons charged and ready, Captain. Point defense systems online. Damage control teams standing by. Good. Chen settled back into her command chair. Let's show them what humans do when someone threatens us. In the cold darkness of space, 2 very different philosophies of warfare were about to meet. The Zephyrians believed in overwhelming force and quick victory through superior numbers and technology. The humans believed in building their ships tough enough to survive anything and hitting back hard enough to make their enemies regret starting the fight. Soon, the galaxy would learn which philosophy was stronger. The Zephyrian fleet moved into attack formation with the practiced ease of a military force that had never known defeat. Each ship took its assigned position in a pattern that had proven successful across 47 conquered worlds. The formation was designed to surround and overwhelm any enemy vessel with concentrated fire from multiple angles. Fleet Commander Vexithara watched the tactical display with satisfaction. The human ship remained motionless, apparently waiting for the inevitable. She had seen this before. Primitive species that realized too late they had made a terrible mistake. Some tried to run. Others attempted last-minute negotiations. A few simply shut down their systems and waited for boarding parties. Tactical analysis complete, Commander. reported Veltar from his station. His voice carried the confidence of youth and the certainty of superior technology. The enemy vessel shows no defensive improvements. Hull composition appears to be simple iron and steel alloys. Weapons are kinetic-based projectile systems, extremely primitive by our standards. Vexithera clicked her mandibles in amusement. Kinetic weapons? They still use solid projectiles? How quaint. What threat assessment does the computer assign? Minimal, Commander. The tactical computer rates their chance of inflicting significant damage at less than 2%. The computer recommends standard suppression tactics. Disable their engines first, then weapons systems. Estimated time to victory, 4 minutes. The bridge crew shared the confident mood of their commander. The Zephyrian hegemony had built its empire on the strength of plasma technology and energy shielding. Their weapons could melt through most known materials in seconds. Their shields could deflect or absorb virtually any form of energy attack. Against kinetic weapons, simple metal projectiles fired by chemical or magnetic acceleration, their defenses were practically invulnerable. Communications, send a final warning, Vexthera ordered. Give them one last chance to surrender. I'm feeling generous today. The transmission reached the Defiance within seconds. Captain Chen listened to the alien commander's words with growing resolve. The arrogance in that voice reminded her of every bully she had ever encountered, from the playground to the military academy. Bullies always assumed their targets would back down when faced with superior force. Captain, Lieutenant Commander Martinez said quietly, they're charging weapons. Energy signatures are consistent with plasma-based technology. High temperature, high energy output, Chen nodded. Any word from Earth Command? Negative, Captain. We're too far out for real-time communication. The nearest relay station is 6 days away at maximum burn. This was it then. No backup was coming. No diplomatic solution was possible. The Defiance and her crew stood alone against an entire alien fleet. In the old days, this would have been called a suicide mission. But the Defiance was not built in the old days. She was built by a humanity that had learned hard lessons about survival. Engineering report, Chen called out. Chief Rodriguez's voice came through the intercom, steady and professional. All systems green, Captain. Fusion reactors at full power. Kinetic weapons charged and ready. Point defense grid active. Armor plating secure. Very good. Helm, plot an intercept course for the lead vessel. Full speed, Captain. The helmsman, Ensign Kim, looked surprised. Did you say intercept course? You heard correctly. Take us straight at them. On the Zephyrian flagship, sensors detected the human ship's sudden acceleration. Vexithara frowned at the display. This was unexpected behavior. Most species either tried to flee or remained stationary to accept their fate. None had ever charged directly at a superior force. Analysis, she demanded. The enemy vessel is accelerating directly toward our position, Veltar reported, his voice showing the first hint of uncertainty. Current acceleration rate is unusual. Their engine output is much higher than initial scans indicated. Vexthara studied the display more carefully. The human ship was indeed moving faster than seemed possible for such a crude-looking vessel. Its engine signature was completely unlike anything in the hegemony's databases. Instead of the clean energy patterns of plasma or antimatter drives, this showed the chaotic signature of controlled nuclear explosions. They're using nuclear pulse propulsion, she realized. Barbaric but effective. Nuclear pulse drives were considered obsolete by most advanced civilizations. They were crude, dangerous, and required massive amounts of radiation shielding. But they also provided enormous amounts of thrust. The humans had apparently chosen raw power over elegance. Shall we open fire, Commander? Asked the weapons officer. Vexithera considered. The human ship was still outside effective range for precision strikes. Better to wait until it was closer, where their plasma cannons could disable specific systems rather than simply vaporizing the entire vessel. A mostly intact human ship would provide valuable intelligence about this new species. Hold fire. Let them come closer. I want prisoners for interrogation. The distance between the fleets closed rapidly. The Defiance accelerated toward the alien formation like a missile, her nuclear engines burning bright in the darkness. On her bridge, Captain Chen watched the tactical display with the calm focus of a predator sizing up its prey. 30 seconds to weapons range, announced Ensign Thompson. All batteries. Prepare to fire on my command, Chen ordered. Target the lead vessel. Show them what human engineering can do. The Zephyrian tactical computers tracked the approaching human ship with growing precision. Energy weapons locked onto what appeared to be the most vulnerable sections of the primitive vessel. Plasma cannons charged to full power, ready to slice through crude metal armor like it was paper. 20 seconds to optimal firing position, Veltar reported. All weapons ready, Commander. Vexthara raised one clawed hand, preparing to give the order to fire. The human ship was now close enough for detailed scans, and what she saw confirmed her assessment. The hull was indeed crude metal, covered with strange protrusions and scars. It looked like something built by scavengers rather than a proper military force. 15 seconds, Veltar continued. Energy signature spike from the human vessel. They appear to be charging their primitive weapons. Let them waste their ammunition, Vexithera laughed. Our shields will absorb whatever they can throw at us. 10 seconds to optimal range. The bridge crew of the Defiance counted down the final moments before engagement. Every human aboard the ship knew they were making history. First contact with an alien species, and that species had chosen war over peace. But humanity had faced worse odds before and survived. 5 seconds, Thompson called out. Captain Chen gripped the arms of her command chair. All batteries, in range now, Commander, Veltar announced. Vexthara brought her hand down sharply. Fire! The Zephyrian fleet opened fire as one. Dozens of plasma beams lanced through space toward the human vessel. The energy weapons were precisely calibrated to disable rather than destroy, designed to punch through primitive armor and knock out key systems. At the exact same moment, Captain Chen shouted her own order, Fire! The Defiance erupted in controlled violence. Her kinetic weapons, magnetic rails that accelerated solid projectiles to significant fractions of light speed, spoke with a voice like thunder. Tungsten penetrators, each one weighing several tons and moving at velocities that turned them into relativistic weapons, streaked toward the alien fleet. The Zephyrian plasma beam struck the Defiance's hull and splashed harmlessly across her armor. What the aliens had mistaken for crude metal plating was actually a sophisticated composite of tungsten, titanium, and ceramic matrices designed to absorb and dissipate energy attacks. The strange protrusions they had dismissed as primitive design features were actually heat sinks and armor modules, specifically engineered to handle plasma weapons. The human kinetic rounds hit the Zephyrian shields and passed through them like they were not there. Energy shields, no matter how sophisticated, were designed to stop energy attacks. They offered no protection against solid matter moving at relativistic speeds. The lead Zephyrian vessel, the Stellar Fang, shuddered as a tungsten penetrator punched completely through her hull from bow to stern. Emergency alarms screamed throughout the ship as atmosphere vented into space and power systems failed. Impossible, Vexithera shouted, her 4 eyes wide with shock. Our shields should have stopped that. Damage report, Veltar called out, his voice no longer confident.
Primary power offline.
Hull breach on 7 decks. Casualty reports coming in from all sections. On the Defiance, Captain Chen watched with grim satisfaction as her weapons found their targets. The aliens' shields were impressive against energy weapons, but they had clearly never faced kinetic rounds moving at 30% of light speed. Reload and fire again, she ordered. Target the ship to port of the leader. The Zephyrian fleet reacted with the confusion of a military force that had never faced effective resistance. Some ships continued firing their plasma weapons, unable to believe that their most powerful weapons were useless against the human vessel. Others tried to adjust their shields, not understanding that no energy shield could stop a solid projectile. Vexithera struggled to understand what was happening. In over a century of conquest, no primitive species had ever seriously damaged a Zephyrian warship. Their technology was supposed to be superior. Their tactics were proven. Their victory was supposed to be inevitable. Commander, the communications of Captain Sarah Chen stood at the center of the Defiance's bridge, watching the chaos unfold on the tactical display. The Zephyrian fleet, moments ago arranged in perfect attack formation, was now scattered across local space as ship after ship fell to her kinetic weapons. But she knew this was only the beginning. All stations battle ready, she commanded, her voice carrying across the bridge with calm authority. Show them what humans do to bullies. Her words activated systems that the Zephyrian scanners had completely missed. Throughout the Defiance, armor plating began to slide away with mechanical precision, revealing weapon systems that the alien computers could not even categorize. What the Zephyrians had mistaken for crude external structures were actually concealed weapon mounts, sensor arrays, and defensive systems. Lieutenant Commander Martinez watched his tactical board light up with new contacts. Captain, all weapons systems are coming online. Point defense grid is active. Kinetic batteries are loaded and ready. Engineering, give me everything the reactors can handle, Chen ordered. Chief Rodriguez's voice came back immediately. You've got it, Captain. Fusion reactors are running hot but stable. All power systems are green. The old girl is ready for anything they can throw at us. The old girl was showing her true nature now. The Defiance had been built according to human military philosophy. If you were going to fight, you built your ships to take everything the enemy could dish out, and then hit back twice as hard. Every system had backups. Every weapon had been tested in conditions that would destroy most other ships. The hull that looked crude and scarred to alien eyes was actually a masterpiece of defensive engineering. On the Zephyrian flagship Stellar Fang, Fleet Commander Vexithara struggled to maintain control as damage reports flooded in from across her ship. The tungsten penetrator that had punched through her vessel had caused massive structural damage. Emergency force fields contained the worst of the atmospheric leaks, but her ship was badly wounded. Status report, she demanded. Navigation Officer Kethren worked frantically at his damaged console. Primary powers offline, Commander. Secondary systems are functioning, but at reduced capacity. Hull integrity is compromised on 7 decks. We have 43 casualties, 16 confirmed dead. Vexithara's mandibles clicked in disbelief. 16 of her crew dead in the first exchange of fire. In all her years of conquest, the hegemony had never lost so many personnel to a single enemy attack. The primitive human weapons had proven devastatingly effective against their technology. Communications, contact the fleet. I want a full tactical analysis of that human vessel. How are they penetrating our shields? The answer came from her tactical officer, Veltar, whose voice now carried none of its earlier confidence. Commander, their weapons are not energy-based. They're firing solid projectiles at extremely high velocity. Our shields are designed to deflect or absorb energy attacks. They offer no protection against kinetic impacts. Vexithara felt a chill run through her exoskeleton. Kinetic weapons? But those are primitive. Primitive, yes, but effective against our defenses. Our tactical computers indicate their projectiles are achieving velocities of approximately 30% light speed. At those velocities, even small masses carry enormous kinetic energy. The fleet commander struggled to process this information. The Zephyrian military had not faced kinetic weapons in over 2 centuries. Energy shields had made such weapons obsolete, or so they had thought. The humans had apparently never developed energy weapons advanced enough to make kinetic systems unnecessary. Instead, they had perfected kinetic technology to a degree the hegemony had never imagined possible. On the human vessel, Captain Chen was not giving her enemies time to adapt. The Defiance's nuclear pulse drive flared to life, accelerating the ship toward the scattered Zephyrian formation. Her philosophy was simple. Hit hard, hit fast, and never give the enemy a chance to recover. Helm, bring us around to intercept the cruiser at bearing 27 Mark IV, she ordered. Weapons, target their engines first. I want them disabled, not destroyed. Ensign Thompson's fingers flew over his controls. Aye, Captain. Targeting their propulsion systems. The Defiance's kinetic weapons spoke again. Tungsten penetrators, accelerated to incredible velocities by magnetic rails powered by fusion reactors, streaked across space toward their targets. The Zephyrian cruiser tried to evade, but its elegant design had prioritized grace over maneuverability. The human rounds found their mark, punching through the alien ship's engine compartment and leaving it drifting powerless. Vexithara watched in growing horror as her fleet was systematically dismantled. The human ship moved like nothing she had ever seen, not with the smooth grace of Zephyrian vessels, but with the brutal efficiency of a predator. Its acceleration was incredible, its maneuverability surprising for such a crude-looking design. How are they achieving such performance? She demanded. Veltar studied his sensors carefully. Their propulsion system appears to be nuclear pulse-based, Commander. They're literally riding controlled nuclear explosions. It's incredibly dangerous and requires massive radiation shielding, but it provides enormous thrust. Another piece of the puzzle fell into place. The humans had chosen raw power over elegance, function over form. Their ship looked crude because it was built for war, not for show. Every strange protrusion, every scarred section of armor served a purpose in battle. The Defiance closed with another Zephyrian vessel, this one attempting to flee the engagement zone. Captain Chen had no intention of letting any of the alien ships escape to report what they had learned. "Point defense systems, prepare for close engagement," she ordered. What the Zephyrians had mistaken for random hull protrusions suddenly revealed their true purpose. Weapons ports opened across the Defiance's hull, and a network of defensive systems came online. Rapid-fire kinetic weapons designed to intercept incoming missiles and fighters tracked the fleeing alien vessel. The Zephyrian ship fired its plasma weapons in desperation, hoping to damage the human vessel's engines. The plasma beams struck the Defiance's hull and dispersed harmlessly across specialized armor designed to handle such attacks. Heat sinks built into the ship's structure absorbed and dissipated the thermal energy, while reactive armor panels deflected the worst of the impact. In response, the Defiance's point defense grid opened fire, thousands of smaller kinetic rounds, each one moving at significant fractions of light speed, peppered the alien vessel. The Zephyrian ship's hull, designed to handle energy weapons, proved inadequate against the sustained kinetic bombardment. Armor plating shattered.
Structural members failed.
The elegant alien vessel came apart under the relentless assault. Chief Rodriguez monitored his systems with professional satisfaction. The Defiance was performing exactly as designed. Her armor was holding against alien weapons. Her reactors were providing all the power her systems demanded. Her weapons were proving devastatingly effective against enemy defenses. "Captain," he reported, "all systems operating within normal parameters. Armor integrity at 97%. Reactor output steady. We can maintain this level of combat operations indefinitely." That was the key advantage of human engineering philosophy. The Defiance had not been built to look impressive or to incorporate the latest technological innovations. She had been built to fight and survive in the harshest conditions imaginable. Every system could function even when damaged. Every weapon could fire even when the ship was taking hits. Every defense could hold even against overwhelming odds. The Zephyrian fleet, meanwhile, was learning the hard way that superior technology meant nothing if it was not designed for the right kind of warfare. Their energy shields were useless. Their plasma weapons were ineffective. Their elegant ships were fragile when faced with kinetic weapons. "Commander," the communications officer on the Stellar Fang called out in panic. "The Bright Talon has lost main power. The Swift Strike is reporting critical hull damage. The Night Hunter is not responding to communication." Vexithera stared at the tactical display in disbelief. In less than 10 minutes of combat, her fleet had been reduced from 47 ships to 31 still capable of fighting. The others were either destroyed, disabled, or too damaged to continue the engagement. One primitive human vessel had accomplished what no enemy in hegemony history had ever achieved. "All ships, fall back to maximum range," she ordered. "Regroup and reassess." But Captain Chen was not interested in giving her enemies time to recover. The Defiance pursued the retreating alien vessels, her nuclear engines burning bright against the stars. Her kinetic weapons continued to fire with methodical precision, each shot carefully aimed to disable rather than destroy. "Captain," Lieutenant Commander Martinez observed. "They're trying to withdraw." Chen nodded grimly. "I see that. But we can't let them escape. If even one of these ships gets away, they'll report our capabilities to their empire. Next time, they'll come prepared for kinetic weapons." The truth was that the Defiance, for all her strength, was still just one ship. If the Zephyrian hegemony sent 100 ships next time, or 1,000, even the best human engineering might not be enough. The key to survival was to make. The communication channel crackled with tension as Captain Chen's words reached the damaged Zephyrian flagship. Fleet Commander Vexithera stared at the main display, where the human vessel hung in space like a predator studying wounded prey. The Defiance showed battle damage, scorch marks from plasma weapons and small debris impacts, but she remained fully operational while half the Zephyrian fleet was either destroyed or disabled. "You wish to negotiate surrender terms?" Vexthara asked, though she already suspected the answer would not be what she hoped. Captain Chen's image appeared on the screen, her uniform torn and smoky, but her expression calm and determined. Behind her, The bridge of the human ship buzzed with controlled activity as her crew continued to monitor the tactical situation. "Commander, I'm going to explain something to you about humans," Chen said, her voice carrying across space with quiet authority. "We don't surrender. We don't run. And we don't forgive those who threaten us unprovoked." Vexthara felt her blood chill. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying that your fleet attacked a peaceful vessel conducting scientific exploration. You demanded our surrender and threatened to destroy us when we refused. In human terms, that makes you pirates and terrorists." Chen's expression hardened. "And we have very specific ways of dealing with pirates and terrorists." The communication channel closed, leaving the Zephyrian bridge in tense silence. Around them, the sounds of damage control efforts continued as repair crews worked frantically to restore their ship's combat capability. "Commander," Veltar reported from his station, "the human vessel is moving again. They appear to be targeting the disabled ships in our fleet." Vexithara turned to the tactical display with growing dread. The human ship was indeed moving toward the Zephyrian vessels that had been disabled in the first exchange of fire, but instead of destroying them, something else was happening. Captain Chen stood at the center of her bridge, coordinating the most complex operation the Defiance had ever attempted. The battle had shifted from simple ship-to-ship combat to something far more sophisticated, a demonstration of human military doctrine in action. "Marine detachment. Prepare for boarding operations," she ordered. "Full combat gear and non-lethal weapons. We want prisoners, not casualties." Major Williams, the commanding officer of the Defiance's Marine complement, acknowledged the order with professional calm. "Understood, Captain. Teams Alpha and Bravo are suiting up now. We'll have them ready for deployment in 5 minutes." The Defiance moved alongside the first disabled Zephyrian vessel, a cruiser that had lost main power after taking a tungsten penetrator through her engine compartment. The human ship's docking systems, hidden beneath armor plating until needed, extended toward the alien vessel. "Engineering, initiate emergency power transfer," Chen ordered. "I want life support stable on that ship before our people go aboard." Chief Rodriguez worked his controls with practiced efficiency. "Power transfer initiated, Captain. Their life support systems are coming back online. Atmosphere is stabilizing." This was something the Zephyrians had never seen before. An enemy that disabled their ships and then worked to keep their crews alive. In hegemony warfare, disabled vessels were either destroyed or left to die in space. The concept of providing aid to defeated enemies was completely foreign to their military philosophy. The first boarding party launched from the Defiance in armored shuttles designed to operate in hostile environments. The Marines wore powered combat armor that made them look like mechanical warriors from a nightmare. Their weapons were designed to incapacitate rather than kill, but they carried enough firepower to fight their way through any resistance. On the disabled Zephyrian cruiser, the crew watched in terror as human soldiers cut through their hull with tools that seemed to ignore their ship's advanced materials. The Marines moved with military precision, securing each section of the ship before moving to the next. The Zephyrian crew offered no resistance. They had seen what human weapons could do to their ships. None of them wanted to discover what those weapons could do to unarmored personnel. "Vessel secured," Major Williams reported. 237 prisoners. No casualties on either side. "The ship is salvageable with proper repairs." Captain Chen nodded with satisfaction. "Excellent work, Major. Move to the next vessel." The process repeated across the battlefield. One by one, the disabled Zephyrian ships were boarded and secured. The human Marines worked with efficient professionalism, treating their prisoners according to what appeared to be strict military protocols. Medical teams followed the boarding parties, providing aid to wounded aliens and ensuring that life support systems remained stable. Vexithara watched this systematic capture of her fleet with growing amazement. In over a century of military service, she had never seen anything like it. The humans were not just defeating her forces, they were capturing them intact, preserving the lives of her crews, and somehow managing to coordinate multiple boarding operations while maintaining combat readiness. "How are they doing this?" she asked her tactical officer. Veltar studied his sensors carefully. "Their ship appears to have been designed for these operations, Commander. They have multiple docking systems, internal shuttle bays, and what appears to be a significant ground combat force. This vessel is not just a warship, it's a mobile military base." The revelation hit Vexithara like a physical blow. The humans had not just built a ship designed to fight other ships. They had built a vessel capable of conducting complex military operations against multiple targets simultaneously. The Defiance could fight, board, capture, and control enemy vessels while maintaining full combat capability. "Commander," the communications officer called out, "we're receiving a transmission from the human vessel." Captain Chen's image appeared on the screen again. This time she was flanked by Major Williams and Chief Rodriguez. Behind them, the bridge displayed tactical information showing the current status of the engagement. 21 Zephyrian vessels disabled and captured, 6 destroyed and 20 still operational but scattered across local space. "Commander Vexithera," Chen began, "I want to make something clear. What you've seen so far is not a demonstration of our most advanced technology. The Defiance is a patrol vessel, one of our smaller warships. We have ships that make this one look like a scout craft." The words hit the Zephyrian commander like hammer blows. A patrol vessel. A smaller warship. If this was what the humans considered a minor ship, what would their major vessels be capable of? "Impossible," Vexithera whispered. "You attacked us because you thought we were primitive," Chen continued. "You saw kinetic weapons and assumed we were technologically inferior. You made the same mistake that humans made for centuries. You confused different with inferior." On the screen, Chief Rodriguez stepped forward. "Our weapons are kinetic because kinetic weapons work," he said simply. "Energy shields, plasma weapons, directed energy systems. They're all very impressive until someone shoots a chunk of tungsten at you at 30% of light speed. Physics doesn't care how advanced you think you are." Major Williams added his own perspective. "Our ships are built ugly because pretty ships die first. Every scar on our hull is a lesson learned. Every redundant system is there because we've seen what happens when primary systems fail. We don't build ships to impress people, we build them to survive." Captain Chen took control of the conversation again. "You have a choice, Commander. You can order your remaining ships to continue this fight and I will destroy every one of them. Or you can accept that you have encountered something you don't understand and withdraw while you still can." Vexithera looked at her tactical display. 20 ships remaining out of 47. More than half her fleet was gone, and the human vessel showed no signs of serious damage. Continuing the fight would be suicide for her remaining crews. "What are your terms?" she asked. "Simple," Chen replied. "You will collect your surviving ships and leave this system immediately. You will not return. You will report to your superiors that you encountered a human patrol vessel and were defeated. You will recommend that the Zephyrian hegemony avoid human space until you are prepared to deal with us as equals, rather than as primitives to be conquered." The terms were surprisingly generous, Vexithara realized. The humans could have demanded tribute, territorial concessions, or complete surrender. Instead, they were offering a chance for the hegemony to withdraw with some dignity intact. "And our captured personnel?" she asked. "Will be returned to you unharmed," Chen said. "We are not pirates or slavers. Your crews will receive medical treatment for their injuries and be transferred to your remaining ships before you leave." Vexithara made her decision. "Accepted. I will order my remaining ships to stand down and prepare for withdrawal." "Wise choice, Commander. But understand this. If we encounter Zephyrian vessels in human space again, if you attack any human ship or colony, if you threaten us in any way, the next engagement will end very differently. The Defiance is a patrol vessel. Our battle fleets are somewhat larger." The communication ended, leaving Vexithara alone with the wreckage of her ambitions. The great expansion of the Zephyrian hegemony had come to an abrupt halt in a nameless star system at the edge of nowhere. Her fleet had been destroyed not by superior numbers or advanced technology. The journey back to Zephyrian space took 18 standard days. 18 days for Fleet Commander Vexithera to contemplate the destruction of everything she had believed about warfare, technology, and the natural order of the galaxy. The Stellar Fang limped through space, her hull scarred by tungsten penetrators and her crew demoralized by their devastating defeat. Vexithara stood in her quarters, staring out at the stars through the reinforced viewport. Somewhere behind them, the human vessel continued its patrol, carrying secrets that would reshape galactic politics. Somewhere ahead lay the hegemony capital world of Zephyr Prime, where she would have to explain how a single primitive vessel had destroyed or captured more than half of her fleet. The worst part was the knowledge that Captain Chen had been telling the truth. The Defiance was just a patrol vessel, one of their smaller warships. If that was what humans considered a minor ship, what horrors waited in their main battle fleets? A soft chime announced a visitor at her door. "Enter," she called. Tactical Officer Veltar stepped into the chamber, his posture showing the weight of recent events. Like everyone aboard the surviving ships, he had been changed by their encounter with humanity. "Commander, the final casualty reports have been compiled," he said, offering her a data tablet. Vexithara accepted the device and scanned the numbers. 437 dead across the entire fleet, nearly 2,000 wounded. 26 ships lost completely, with 11 more requiring extensive repairs before they could be considered combat-ready again. All inflicted by a single enemy vessel. "What about the prisoners who were returned to us?" she asked. "All accounted for, Commander. The humans kept their word completely. Our personnel report that they were treated according to what appeared to be strict military protocols. Medical care was provided for the wounded, and no one was harmed during captivity. That was perhaps the most disturbing aspect of the entire encounter. The humans had fought with devastating effectiveness, but they had also shown restraint and mercy that was completely foreign to hegemony military doctrine. They had acted like a civilization that actually followed laws of war. Have any of the returned personnel provided useful intelligence about human capabilities?" Vexthera asked. Veltar's expression grew troubled. "Some observations, Commander, but they raise more questions than they answer. The human ship appears to have been designed for extended independent operations, multiple shuttle bays, extensive marine complement, full medical facilities, machine shops capable of manufacturing replacement parts. It was essentially a mobile military base. What about their technology? Primitive in some ways, incredibly advanced in others. Their computers appear to be less sophisticated than ours, but their materials science is remarkable. The armor that absorbed our plasma weapons was composed of layered composites we don't fully understand. Their kinetic weapons achieve velocities we previously thought impossible." Vexthara set down the data tablet and returned to studying the stars. "They built their technology to counter ours specifically. Commander, think about it, Veltar. Energy shields, plasma weapons, directed energy systems. These are the standard technologies of every advanced civilization in the galaxy. The humans developed kinetic weapons that render all of those defenses useless. Either they're incredibly lucky or they've encountered other species before and learned from those encounters," Veltar finished. The implication was chilling. If the humans had already fought and defeated other galactic civilizations, then the Zephyrian hegemony was walking into a conflict with an enemy that had battle-tested experience against advanced opponents. "There's something else, Commander," Veltar continued. "Several of our people reported that the human ship appeared to have damage from previous engagements. Battle scars that had been repaired but not hidden. They've been in combat before, recently from the appearance of the repairs. Commander, I don't think we were their first contact with galactic civilization. I think we were just the latest in a series of encounters, and based on our experience, I suspect those previous encounters ended badly for the other side." Vexthera felt a chill run through her exoskeleton. If the humans had already established themselves as a military power in this region of space, then the hegemony expansion had run headlong into an established frontier. The humans were not primitive newcomers to galactic politics. They were an unknown power that had been operating in secret. 2 days later, the surviving fleet limped into Zephyr Prime's orbital defense grid. The sight that greeted them was not encouraging. The orbital stations, bristling with plasma weapons and energy shields, suddenly looked inadequate against an enemy that could punch tungsten penetrators through any known defense. The hegemony's high command was waiting when Vexithara docked at the primary military station. The council chamber was an imposing room designed to showcase the power and authority of the Zephyrian Empire. Today it felt like a tomb for dead ambitions. Supreme Commander Thylek presided over the inquiry, her ancient eyes studying Vexithara with the intensity of a predator evaluating prey. Around the circular table sat the other members of the High Command, each one representing decades of successful conquest and expansion. Fleet Commander Vexithara, Thylek began, her voice carrying the authority of absolute power, explain to this council how a single enemy vessel destroyed or captured more than half of your fleet. Vexithara had prepared for this moment during the long journey home. She activated the chamber's holographic display system and began her presentation with the tactical recordings from the battle. Supreme Commander, members of the Council, we encountered a species called humans operating a single vessel in the Kepler 442 system. Initial scans indicated primitive technology and minimal threat potential. These scans were incorrect. The holographic display showed the Defiance as she had appeared to Zephyrian sensors. Crude, scarred, and apparently primitive. Then it shifted to show the same vessel with her true capabilities revealed. Weapon systems emerging from concealment. Armor plating sliding aside to reveal defensive systems. The nuclear pulse drive flaring to life. The humans have developed military technology specifically designed to counter our standard weapons and defenses, Vexthera continued. Their kinetic weapons achieved velocities of 30% light speed, rendering our energy shields useless. Their armor systems absorbed our plasma weapons with minimal effect. Supreme Commander Thylek leaned forward in her chair. You're telling this council that a primitive species has developed weapons capable of defeating our most advanced technology? Not primitive, Supreme Commander. Different. Their technology follows a completely different development path from our own. Where we pursued energy-based weapons and defenses, they perfected kinetic systems. Where we built elegant vessels optimized for speed and maneuverability, they built ships designed to absorb punishment and continue fighting. The council members exchanged glances of growing concern. If Vexthera was correct, then the hegemony's expansion had encountered its first real military opposition in over a century. What are your recommendations, Fleet Commander? Asked General Zach Thor, the council's strategic planning specialist. Vexthera had dreaded this question, but she knew there was only one honest answer. Supreme Commander, I recommend that we avoid human space until we can develop countermeasures for their technology. Any immediate military response would likely result in catastrophic losses for our forces. The chamber erupted in shocked murmurs. For a Zephyrian military officer to recommend avoiding combat was almost unthinkable. The hegemony had built its empire on the principle of overwhelming force applied without hesitation. Unacceptable, declared Admiral Velquan from across the table. The hegemony does not retreat from primitive aliens. We adapt, we overwhelm, we conquer. With respect, Admiral, Vexthera replied, the humans are not primitive. They are a military power that has been operating in secrecy while we expanded in other directions. Their captain made it clear that the vessel we encountered was a patrol ship, one of their smaller warships. Impossible, Admiral Velquan insisted. No single species could develop such advanced weapons in isolation. Vexthera activated another section of her presentation, showing the intelligence gathered from returned prisoners. According to our personnel, the human ship showed evidence of recent combat damage that had been repaired. Battle scars from previous engagements. Supreme Commander, I believe the humans have been fighting other galactic civilizations and winning. The implications of that statement hung in the air like a poison gas. If the humans had already defeated other advanced species, then they were not an isolated threat, but an established power with proven military capabilities. Supreme Commander Thylek raised one clawed hand for silence. What did the human captain tell you about their intentions? She said that they don't start fights, but they finish them. She offered the opportunity for diplomatic contact, but only as equals. She made it clear that any future aggression against human interests would be met with overwhelming force. And you believe her threats? Vexthera thought about the Defiance, hanging in space like a mechanical predator, her weapons trained on the Zephyrian fleet. She remembered Captain Chen's calm confidence.